Welcome back to episode 6 of Fit with Mitch. Ascend strength and conditioning coach Mitch Freeburn here. On today's episode, we're going to talk about dynamic movement and natural athleticism and how we build it into the programs and where I personally see value in it. This week's episode is going to be overall the most broad that we've discussed, but I think where the beauty of it and where I find so much value in it is that depending on the coach or the application, you can make this as simple or as complex based on what you're constrained by, your athlete, your building, your injury history, etc. But into how I utilize it. When our players are here for 6, 7, 8 months of the year and they train almost every day, you can believe how the regular training cycle, it gets monotonous. There is a bit of loss of interest from just doing the same patterns over and over and over again. So insert natural athleticism, dynamic movement. Where I see value in it, it's a very multifaceted monster, but the biggest one is honestly the athlete enjoyment and just the change of that monotony that they get. It gets them moving outside their comfort zone while also still getting them some quality work, and we can use this, day before game, morning of game. It doesn't cause overly abundant amounts of muscle soreness, so it's a very diverse tool in the fact that we can just use pure human movement, 1, for the human enjoyment, and then 2, to actually get some critical physical work done to then prime the nervous system, the cardiovascular system, and the muscular system for a game, practice, morning skate, whatever. I haven't told our cameraman yet, but basically now, this part of the video, I'm just gonna talk over some diverse aspects of what I believe in, and then he can overlay some different examples of just a few drills that I can pick for the athlete to do that you can use in your own programming. So the first thing that I really value in is with the new age of hockey, with kids coming up, even before they get the professional ranks, is they don't play other sports as it used to be. They specialize early, and in turn, they're in their hockey skates and their hockey gear almost for the full year. So programming natural athleticism, it gets them out of that fixed position. It gives them some different movements, some different patterns they're not used to, that we can kind of get a break from that physical stress of being on the ice, but also that mental component of just being so zoomed in and hyper-focused on one skill set over and over and over again. The second thing that I really value is when you have the correct athlete that has the proficiency in the skill set, you can really build in cognitive awareness and forcing them to track. We can add perceptual components such as throwing a ball to them, unplanned change of direction, unplanned deceleration, which then we're then pairing the nervous system integration into the physical outputs where we're testing the body as a whole rather than just each individual systems. More so for myself and our medical staff, one thing you can indirectly get from watching these athletes move is you can pick apart where some areas they can use to grow, past injuries, things that can be bugging them now that they won't say based on how they're moving. And again, there's a million different ways, there are things that you could see, so it's beyond the scope of this video, but it's a very valuable assessment tool for us in the fact that we can see how athletes are moving and then challenge them in different ways to then actively work on what they aren't good at while giving them a taste of what they really are good at. Finally, I think the biggest thing that I've been kind of hinting at and that we want to actively target is the ability with this natural athleticism and movement programming to integrate all 3 planes of motion. Obviously on the ice, we're heavy frontal plane, meaning left and right, lateral, dominant movement. Sometimes we forget the sagittal plane, which is forward and back, or the transverse plane, which is any sort of rotation. So now, using this and understanding the stressors of the ice, we can give the athlete a little more exposure to that sagittal plane, that transverse plane, to ultimately try and balance the stressors they're getting on the ice while still giving the structures utilized to do those other tasks off the ice, such as rotation, such as moving forward and back, rather than that frontal plane, that skating stride where you're pushing back and externally rotating at the same time over and over again. Just as a final kind of sign off for this episode, it was a lot more talking than usual, so hopefully the B-roll kept you entertained, gave you some structured drills that you can try or maybe you haven't seen before. I hope what you've taken from this episode is that I really, really value, natural athletic components and just dynamic movement. A lot of times, even myself, we get so fixated on the nuts and bolts workout where you picture just players moving weight, doing the same patterns, focusing in the science of what they're not getting on the ice. Being dynamic, being naturally athletic, it does a couple things. One, really good for the athlete's mental health. It breaks their common trends and it gets them outside their comfort zone. Two, while they're having fun and they're approaching it as still a workout, our performance and medical staff, we can utilize that where we can watch how players move, we can see how they interact with the ground, and it gives us things that we can further tailor and custom suit to their programming to help further advance that athlete. So, like I said, I hope you really enjoyed this week. It was a little bit different. Stay tuned for next week to see where we go next.